Gambia's Justice Minister calls for fair use of media platforms as he resigns from government after 3 years. Authorities in DR Congo resort to awareness campaign as the number of COVID-19 cases increase. And the impact of COVID-19 has greatly affected on small businesses in Uganda, leaving the vulnerable to struggle. This and more coming on The World Today. This is Africa TV and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin. I am Amadou Kante. Many thanks for joining us, and now the news in detail. Now, the outgoing Attorney General and Minister of Justice has called on Gambians and the media in particular to diligently safeguard the country's peace to allow maturity of the new democracy. Abubakar Tambedu amplified the government's delivery on the key milestone in the references to ongoing transitional justice with global recognition. His resignation was endorsed by President Barrow so that a new Minister of Justice will begin work on the 1st of July 2020.
The former Attorney General and Minister of Justice administer citizens from discouraging honest and hardworking Gambians from accepting jobs in public office, thereby depriving the country for the best human resource needed for development. Abubakar Tambedu, whose resignation was endorsed by the presidency, was speaking on Friday during a farewell press briefing at the Ministry of Justice in Banjul. Considering misinformation as the biggest threat to the peace and young democracy, the outgoing government legal advisor maintained that use of the media should be in consideration of the fragile democracy the Gambia has just woken up to in January 2017.
By all means, expose corruption and corrupt practices in government. But I encourage you to do so with hard facts. And to be fair to some of you, you do to your credit. It will only enhance your credibility. Do not allow those with a partisan, political, or narrow personal agenda to use you to smear others, because when you do, you will also discourage honest and hard-working Gambians from accepting to serve in public office and consequently deprive this country of the best human resource talent that we need to develop our country. Government, in my view, is a microcosm of society, and I believe that there are more honest people in society than we care to acknowledge.
Mr. Tambedu served the Barrow-led administration little over 3 years from the birth of a new democracy. He took time to enumerate the institutional and professional reforms achieved under his leadership.
Immediately after my appointment, I established a criminal case and detention review panel, which reviewed a total of 241 ongoing cases, criminal cases, involving 304 accused persons. I discontinued prosecutions 36 cases involving 86 accused persons on the basis of insufficient evidence. Reported incidents of arbitrary arrests, detention without trial, or torture by state agents, which were a hallmark of the Jammeh days, have substantially reduced. Freedom of expression, which was a luxury in the past, is now taken for granted. In sum, the Gambia is no longer in a state of fear. On legislative reform, between 2017 and 2020, the ministry has introduced and or revised a total of 47 different pieces of legislation affecting different sectors of government. 26 of these have become law, and 23 are now before the National Assembly for consideration.
He assured victims of human rights violation during the 22 years of Jammeh's rule of justice to be delivered as soon as possible. President Barrow has appointed Dauda A. Jallo in replacement of Mr. Tambedu with effect from the 1st of July. For iAfrica News, I am Julde Njai Suare.
Gambia's Justice Minister resigns as he joins the United Nations. And from that, next we talk on the educational sector because the easing of the coronavirus emergency restrictions by the government of the Gambia prompted the reopening of examination classes for the junior secondary schools, which goes further to serve as a litmus test for the reopening of the rest of the academic levels. One week on, a representative of the young teachers in the country is concerned about the safety of teachers as well as students, calling for fulfillment of promises made by the Minister of Education.
About a week after the reopening of upper basic schools across the country, young teachers' representatives have called on government to ensure the safety of teachers by adhering to the WHO safety measures for the COVID-19. The Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education had promised to create a conducive environment and further ensure the supply of hand sanitizers, thermometers, face masks, and other sanitary materials required to prevent the spread of the virus in schools. The Gambia Red Cross was preoccupied with the cleansing and fumigation of schools, mainly in the Greater Banjul area, ahead of the back-to-school exercise. In a press release on Thursday, the Gambia Teachers Union Young Teachers Platform urged all teachers for the Grade 9 examination class to take up the challenge despite the risk involved in the assignment. However, the group cautioned its members to report on relevant authorities in the event of failure in promise of the Education Authority to fulfill all conditions placed for the reopening of schools. The Gambia is among the West African countries such as Ghana compelled to allow the continuity in coverage of secondary school curriculum to make it possible for the administration of West African examination for the year 2020. The sub-regional examination body, WAEC, had announced the cancellation of the Gambia Basic Education Certificate examination following the outbreak of the coronavirus global pandemic earlier this year. West Africa accounts for more than 60,000 cases of the coronavirus out of over 300,000 cases from the entire continent. Over 8,000 deaths and 160,000 recoveries were recorded in the continent as of Thursday.
Now, on the line for detail on this is Adama Jimba Job, Deputy Permanent Secretary at the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education. Well, Mr. Job, thank you very much for joining us on the line, of course. Now, how has been the reopening of schools been faring so far?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Ba. I mean, it's a pleasure having me. I would want to say it is going well as expected. Alhamdulillah. Thanks be to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have started well. I mean, I was in the regions the whole of yesterday and today, and I've gone all the way up to Same Karantaba this morning. And what I have seen is very encouraging and very, very fulfilling as we start the reopening of schools, starting with the grade 9s.
Right. Now, you pledged as a ministry to clean, fumigate, and provide students and teachers sanitary materials. What about that?
Yeah, we have done so far, I think, substantially in addressing that problem. I mean, the fumigation, as we speak, I'm made to understand that at least we have covered more than 90% of the schools. Some are still because we are having some problems with locations, or the team would go there and there would be nobody in the school for them to access the school. These are some of the reports that I am getting from the team from the Red Cross. But apart from that, the fumigation exercise has been going very well. You know, obviously there isn't anything in this world that you will have 100%. So as a result, we were not expecting 100%. We were expecting how as much as possible to enable us to learn through the process. But alhamdulillah, like I said, the exercise is going very well. Regarding also the supplies, I mean, we have started with what is available for now, and it has gone across the country. And thank God we are able to do as little as we may be able to, but we have provided the basics to the schools.
All right. Now, Mr. Job, in a statement from the young teachers representative, your office has been reminded on the safety of teachers. What will you respond to this?
I mean, I wouldn't have any response. It's just a concern they're raising, and I think it's a genuine concern, which is well noted, and we have been working along those lines because we have not been working independently. All what we were doing is we have been working with the Gambia Teachers Union in trying to address the problems, and since we started the COVID problem, they were our partners, so they are not, nothing is new to them. All what we have been saying and we have been doing, they are part of the process, and they are even supporting us. Even the monitoring of the school's GPU is also doing part of it. So it's a concern raised, and I think it's a very genuine concern, and we are very much aware of it, and we'll take care because, as I said, we are not trying to expose anybody, neither the students, neither the teachers, to anything that all we want them to do is also respect the protocols. Because, you can provide everything, but if they don't respect the protocols, there is nothing you can do.
All right. Just lastly, before we let you go, sir, now, is the back-to-school kickoff positive enough to allow the resumption of all other classes across the country?
Yeah, like I said, it's a trial we are putting on, and we hope that by the end of the next week, when at least we are back to school for about 10 days, we'll be able to learn the lesson. But like I said, this first 3 days is positive, and we hope, inshallah, it will continue like that. And if it does, yeah, why not? We'll be able to expand and allow other classes to come. But you may want to know that our preoccupation was to do with the grade 9s and then the grade 12s, And by the time we are done with the grade 12s, that would have been, that will bring us to the end of the academic year. And we may start another academic year, that's 2021, inshallah. All
right. Mr. Job, thank you very much for your time, and it was a pleasure having you on the line.
It's a pleasure talking to you, Mr. Bo.
All right. Thank you very much. Of course, it was good to have the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education on the line to respond to our questions there. Now, from that next, we head to Uganda, where small businesses in the country are heavily affected by the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, resulting to increase in the cost of basic commodities. Well, despite government's food relief accorded to those in need, many are left worried in the current situation. Here's more details of that.
Edward Kayemba is a hawker in Uganda's capital, Kampala. He deals in second-hand shoes, but he says the COVID-19 pandemic is crippling his business.
When they announced social distancing measures, they locked the stores. We decided to do hawking on the streets, but that has also been stopped. It's now becoming difficult to fend for our families.
Kayemba says he had about $150 before the pandemic, but now he only has $30 left from what he previously earned hawking shoes. Kayemba is now plying his trade in the suburbs of the capital, Kampala. But with the current economic hardship due to COVID-19, buyers are hard to find. The family is now struggling to make ends meet. His wife washes clothes in the community at a fee to supplement the family income.
I move around the village asking the locals if they have clothes to wash. The money I get from washing, I use it to buy food at home.
To maintain social distancing measures, Kampala city authorities have prohibited trading on the streets, and public transport is restricted in some areas. Access to basic needs like food is becoming a challenge for the underprivileged. The prices of most commodities have shot up. Food rights activists are urging local authorities to give more support to these vulnerable groups.
Life is not yet back to normal. People have not yet started earning. They are actually incurring more costs than they are earning. So the economy hasn't yet gotten up. We are still on our knees. And I'm not surprised because we have left the food market to the powers of supply and demand. So there is less food coming.
The Ugandan government had been providing food relief to affected families in Kampala, but it has since stopped after the ministry in charge of relief and disaster preparedness surpassed its target of 1.4 million needy people. Food distribution has now shifted to rural areas. Kayemba is now switching to rearing chickens, something he believes could help put food on the table. He is, however, hopeful that as the country returns to the new normal, he will resume his hawking business.
And with that report there in Kampala, Uganda, we will, of course, take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back.
Baadiŋol men be Gambia aniŋ Gambia e bantala mbeŋa ñillon ko TRRC bala dokuwo sal labaŋo le kono andi la dokuwo be looriŋ meŋ kaŋ walaŋ hadamadiŋol meŋ na ñanto tiñaata ñiŋ banko kanjaŋ kabiriŋ July karo 1994 saŋo la kana January karo 2017 saŋo la woto momo ye a loŋ ko i mantorata ñiŋ waato kono andi maŋ futa TRRC folo pour que la kumakaŋo di nsafo ma ye statement o ye feere ke ye futa TRRC ye la kumakaŋo di a tariya ñaama yo pour kana TRRC ye feŋo feŋ kenaŋ paasoti kana futa je walla ye feŋo feŋ dépense pour ka futa TRRC ke la kumakaŋo di a be seyindilema le bari mbe ñiŋ fanaŋ koyindi la ko pour ka statement o fanaŋ di a maŋ ke ko moo ye la kumakaŋo di TRRC i be loo la télévision o ñaato le moo be ye juube wo tutete le bulu ni lefta ka testify moo be ye lamoyi moo be ye je i se wo kenoo le bari ni maŋ lafi wo fanaŋ na ise kumakaŋo diinoo le a ye tara moolu ke kaŋo moyi bari ite ñaadaa je la niŋ duŋ maŋ lafi wo fanaŋ na ise siinoo i niŋ commissionnal damma ali ye kacca a ye tara moo te bole kalama andu niŋ me lafita ka ñiŋ ke ise katoo ke ye ñiŋ téléphone nombal kumandi pour ka TRRC soto no 770-4988 770-4988 wala 741-5937 741-5937 ala baraka mo be sa dake TRRC dokor.
Welcome back. You are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV, and now to the rest of the stories. Now, barely 2 days after the sacking of the executive director of the National Youth Council, young people who claim to represent the youth folk held a press conference to challenge what they called unjustified move by the government of the Gambia. Mr. Lamin Dabo received a marching out order from the Ministry of Youth and Sports on Wednesday, in which the authority committed to pay a 1-month salary in lieu of notice. One of the youth representatives at the Friday press conference was Dembo Kambi, chairman of the National Youth Council, who explained the ongoing efforts to restore the leadership of the dismissed executive director.
You are our young people. You are the one we are serving. If you wanted us here, whatever decisions that you want to make, we will come. And therefore, we have identified a task force from our council, which is headed by myself as chairperson of the National Youth Council, with the female rep of the National Youth Council, Nimansata Sise, with Lamin B. Sise, my chairperson for Kanifing, and Omar Jamme, the chairperson for Central River Region, to serve as the task force committee, because despite young people that we are serving have their own approach to the issue, we cannot allow them to go alone. We have to be with them to ensure that, we provide leadership in ensuring that this issue could not escalate to any other thing. And that's why we are here to provide that leadership. And the other thing is, according to our discussions, we did not, at the level of the council, we have agreed to write to the minister and his team at the office about the position of the National Youth Council, that we want them to reinstate Lamin, rescind their decision and reinstate Lamin for us to move on, probably up to certain times. That's what we've agreed as a council that we're going to write, and currently the program manager of the council is currently writing that letter that we're going to send to the minister.
Dembo Kambi, of course, the chairperson of the National Youth Council, speaking there. Next, we head to Tunisia because the Tunisian government and its partners have examined the impact of the COVID-19 on the country's economy that has built up the unemployment rate since the outbreak in March. Many businesses were paralyzed by the global crisis, and experts warn that the poverty rate may increase in the North African country. Here's more details of that in this report.
This recent study on the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the Tunisian economy for the year 2020 was conducted by the Ministry of Development, Investment and International Cooperation and the United Nations Development Programme. It has also revealed that the number of unemployed went up by 274,500 in 2020 alone.
The government's strategy is to promote transparency and to inform the public opinion through a series of studies on the economic and social repercussions of the worst global sanitary crisis in the country. The growth rate will stand at negative 4.4%. The job sector will be hit and the number of unemployed will increase dramatically.
Experts assert that with a poverty rate of 19%, which may worsen further, Tunisia is going back 15 years, with 475,000 more people falling below the poverty line due to the loss of income. The number of people below the poverty line would therefore be expected to rise from the current 1.6 million to 2 million.
The COVID-19 crisis is the biggest crisis after the Second World War. Although all measures were necessary to protect the population from the pandemic, they had paralyzed economic activity. The income poverty affects women much more than men, who were much more exposed than men to the risks of impoverishment.
UNDP resident representative noted that Tunisia must focus on 5 priorities in order to cope with the repercussions of the COVID-19 pandemic.
These priorities should include strengthening health service systems, guaranteeing social protection for the most vulnerable, supporting and strengthening jobs and SMEs, and ensuring that macroeconomic measures currently being taken by the government benefit all stakeholders, especially the most disadvantaged.
The study also shows that the COVID-19 shock would accentuate the financial fragility of some economic sectors, namely non-manufacturing industries minus 29%, tourism minus 23%, transport minus 19.6%, and textiles minus 17.7%. In the short term, the study conducted by Tunisian authorities and UNDP advocates mitigating the impacts and relieving the burden on populations and businesses through income transfers. In the long term, the government must prepare the economy and the population to withstand shocks and digitization.
And from the report there in Tunisia, finally, we end this news bulletin in a report in DRC because Congo's COVID-19 National Task Force Committee has been engaged on a sensitization campaign urging the public to respect the coronavirus health guideline as the number of confirmed cases continue to increase. As you find in this report, some people don't believe existence of the virus, but authorities are not relenting on their efforts to contain the spread of the disease. Residents in the eastern part of the country also faced numerous challenges to access healthcare due to the safety concerns in the area. Here's more details of that.
Confirmed COVID-19 cases have continued rising in the DRC despite measures aimed at curbing the spread of the coronavirus. The country's COVID-19 National Task Force has held outreach programs urging the public to regularly wash their hands and observe social distancing. But the disease has spread to 12 provinces.
We expect the pandemic to peak, then we'll see a decline in cases. Many people here are skeptical about the disease, but we've recorded fewer deaths than other countries in Europe. But that's wrong.
The increase in cases comes a week after the World Health Organization warned that the disease is accelerating in Africa. Most of the cases are concentrated in the capital, Kinshasa.
Victoire is one of the crowded suburbs of Kinshasa where a lot of business activity takes place daily. But quite a number of people here don't believe COVID-19 exists.
If we really had the coronavirus in our country, we would have the highest death toll in the whole world. Our city is so dirty and the healthcare system is weak.
We don't have the coronavirus here in the DRC. Imagine, developed countries like France and the US have been reporting deaths of between 5 and 10,000 people. If we had the disease, we would all be dead by now because most of us are living in unsanitary conditions.
The government has extended the lockdown in the commercial hub of the city for 2 weeks, but some traders are unhappy about the decision.
We are really suffering because of the coronavirus. We've had other contagious diseases that killed many people, but our businesses were not shut down. I believe the handling of this pandemic has been politicized.
The country is grappling with other epidemics like measles, Ebola, and cholera. It also faces ongoing insecurity in eastern DRC, which has made it difficult for displaced people to access COVID-19 treatment.
And that report there in DRC finally brings this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, you can also look on our website, tunafrica.tv. Well, once again, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Stay safe. Thanks for watching and bye for now.